So we're going to walk through the steps that you need to take in order to complete the stock market research successfully, all right? So the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to type in the company that you want to look for. I want to do Amazon simply because that's what I did with everybody. So Amazon is the first one, so I'm going to click on it. Now this form over here looks a little different than yours because yours actually has 20 listed, but I've only pulled up one stock just so that you can kind of see what it looks like. And I can type in random places. So Amazon's ticker, this is the four-letter ticker right here, is AMZN. So AMZN. You're going to write that right above the stock. Okay? And so the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to look for the 52-week high and 52-week low. Those are right here. Okay? So this is the low and this is the high. So right here under high, under the amount, we're going to type, we're actually going to write, I'm sorry, you guys will be writing, I'm just typing right now. We'll write the 20, 50, 50. And then underneath the low on the amount, I'll put the 126593. All right. And so then another piece of information that you can glean from this tab without doing too much work is the previous close. And so today's previous close was 1674.56. So I'm going to write that right here. All right. Okay, and so then I need to see what its trend looks like. So that's where this little graph comes into play. And if we look at 6 months, it looks like the graph has pretty much been trending down. This is the halfway point. You see how the coloration changes just a little bit. So the way I kind of look at it as is what's happening on the left and the right of the halfway point. Does something stretch across? And so it's actually had a downward trend for the last 6 months. So I'm going to write last 6 months, okay? And so then I need to look to see if it's had an upswing at all. And if I look at 1 month, it does look like it's been trending upward for the last month. But we could use 1 day, 5 days, 1 year, 5 years, just however we can find a trend, all right? So last 1 month, okay? Okay, so the next thing that I need to do before I move off of this page is to figure out how conservative this stock is. So the way that I do that, so you may want to take a note of this, is you take the high, so in this case it's 20, 50, 50, and you subtract the low, so 1265.93, and then you divide that by 1265.93. Okay, and so that equals 0.62 roughly. So if you look at this little table right here, you should definitely have this on your page. This little table shows that it's very conservative if the answer falls in between this range. It's conservative if it falls between here, middle here, aggressive here, and very aggressive is anything above 0.8. Well, 0.62 falls between 0.6 and 0.8. So that means that this is going to be an aggressive stock, okay? All right, so I'm done with the calculator for a minute. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is I need to find these dates. I will say on average the previous close is the day before unless you're working on a Monday, and then your previous close would be the Friday before. So I can just go ahead and type in 1/15/19, all right, because I know for sure that was what the previous close was. But otherwise, when I need to find these dates, I'm going to go to historical data, all right? And once the historical data pulls up, you'll see that there are 365 days on here, and I for sure do not want to have to look through all of that, so I'm going to use a quick little shortcut. It's called Control F, and when you do that, you see that little window that, like, I've got a little blinking mouse right here, so I'm going to type the number exactly as I have it on my paper. So 1,265, wait, let's not do that one first. Let's do the 2,050.5. Okay, so notice that that number occurred on September 4th. So I'm going to write that date right here, okay? So you can write it however you want. Some people have chosen to do 9/4/18. Some people chose to write September 4/18. It's kind of all in what you decide. Okay, so next, you heard that little chime a second ago. So what that means is that it's not wanting to find my number. This little Control F just didn't work for me this time. So there's a way to fix this. So I'm going to move this up where you can't really necessarily see it for a minute, but just know that this piece right here is still staying there, okay? So let's scooch this up. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab and highlight everything from January all the way down, all 365 days. And I know this takes a second to highlight all these. However, you would rather take a second to highlight them all than you would to go back through and look for them yourself, right? Okay, so I've highlighted them all, and then I'm going to come back up here into my Control F, and I'm going to make sure that my numbers match up. And there it is right there. So February 9th of 18. You're just kind of trying to trick the system a little bit and forcing it to look in that little area that you named. So February 9th of 18, okay? All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to find the most recent revenue. So the way that we do that is we're going to scroll back up here to the top, and I know we're down at the very bottom right now. We're going to scroll up and we're going to click on financials, okay? So when you click on financials, we're looking for most recent revenue. That is this number right here across from total revenue, all right? So we're going to go ahead and put in 177,866,000. Okay, so that means Amazon made some serious money in 2017, right? So the next thing we're going to do is look for most recent profit, which is actually gross profit. So that's this number right here. And we want the most recent, so that's why we're working under the 1217, because that's more recent than 1216, right? So we're going to put that number in right here as well. All right, so 65,932,000. Okay, $65,932,000. That's a good chunk of profit. We could live off that for a long time, right? Okay, so we're still going to stay under financials because we're still looking at how much this company is worth, but this time we're going to click on balance sheet, okay? And so what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down and you're going to look for assets. Now here's the deal. People tend to use total current assets. You see that right here? That is not the one you need to use. You actually need to scroll down a little farther until you get to total assets, all right? And so that is going to be $131,310,000, okay? So assets are those things that companies have that are worth money, okay? So now we need to look at their debts. How much do they owe other things? How much do they have in loans? Just how much do they owe? So their liabilities, we're going to scroll down. And remember, this says total current liabilities right there as well. But we're going to slow down. We're going to scroll all the way down to where it says total liabilities. And in this case, they have about $103 million in total liability, which is a pretty large liability. I mean, not when you figure how much they have in assets, but still. So now to figure out the total overall value, we are going to break our calculator back out. So we are going to type in the assets. So 131,310,000, right? 131,310,000. And we are going to subtract from that our total liabilities. So how much they owe. So 103,601,000. Okay? So that means that the overall value of Amazon currently is $27,709,000. Okay? So that's the process. You'll just repeat that a few more times, 19 to be exact. Pick whatever companies you want. Pick things that interest you. Try to have a good variety of levels. You want a lot of 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s on your paperwork. Make sure when you're looking up a stock that you look up stocks that are traded here in the U.S. Let me give you an example real fast. Trying to think of one. Nope. Toyota Motor Company is traded here. What about Samsung? I bet Samsung is probably not traded here. Okay, so do you see how Samsung right here has lots of numbers and then a period? That is not traded through us, so through the United States. So for sure, do not use that one, okay? Because you're wanting to do domestically traded companies, okay? And so what did I cover so far? Make sure that you pick companies that interest you. Make sure that you get a wide variety of levels. You can do clothing companies, auto companies, stores, makeup brands. There are all kinds of things that are publicly traded. If you need some ideas, you could always go to Google and say, Google, what companies are publicly traded? And it would give you a long, long list of companies that are publicly traded. And you could just pick some that you're interested in. All right? Okay, well, I hope that helps.